Greetings, salutations, and all good things in between. What's up, everyone? Matt here. Happy Friday. Hope you had a good week, getting a lot of stuff done, having fun. Weather's starting to get a little warmer. Not really, but hey, whatever. Springtime-ish coming up, right? So, what have we got on plan for today? Well, if you look down in the description, you probably saw that it's all about ChatGPT today. So, I have been doing an evolution series showing you how to build a continued context conversation system using AppSheet and OpenAI. Been including things like dynamic starters, supporting information, and today I'm going to go over how you can include the new ChatGPT API. That's right, OpenAI has finally released the actual model that's been running ChatGPT. It's called ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo, quite the name. And I'm going to show you how to integrate that into the app that you're using so that you can make use of the actual ChatGPT API. So that's what we got on board for today. Get your apps out, get ready to follow along. Let's do it! All right, welcome everyone. So to begin, the thing that I'm going to do first here is I'm just going to kind of go over some of the general information that's been released from OpenAI about what's going on. Now, if you go to the blog post, I have the link down in the description. This is the blog post that they put out there, and you can see there's actually two things that they released. It's not just ChatGPT, the API, they also released a Whisper API. And if you're unfamiliar with what Whisper is the model that allows you to feed it an audio file and it will produce text from it. So you can just think about the chain that you can create with this. I could throw an audio file at it, Whisper creates the text, take the text, put that into some prompt, send that to the AI, and then get the response back that you want. Nice little chain. So they have a lot of details inside here about how to utilize the various things that are available, what's possible. They show, they have links where you can dive into what other people have done. Some big names have been integrating this into their systems. And so you can, peruse through this at your leisure. It's a fantastic read, a lot of good information in there. But the specific thing that I'm going over today is the new ChatGPT API. And so if you go to the documentation for OpenAI, right, and you go over here to, if we just go to models really quick, you can see there's some updated. So it's been updated, right? So we've always had GPT-3 and moderation, and Codex has been in beta for a while. Embeddings, I think, was there, and Dolly was there. But now we've got Whisper and GPT 3.5. So the 3.5, this is the technical thing, that's the GPT. And you can see it's part of the Text DaVinci family. It's just more capable, optimized for chat, and one-tenth the cost. It's kind of a big deal. It's really, really cheap to use this thing. So if we go down here to the guides, right, and we go to the chat completion side, I just kind of want to run through some of the specifics about how this chat completion API endpoint works, because there are some differences in the specifics. Before we get that, I just want to go over some of the basic things that they've included inside here, right? So ChatGPT is powered by this GPT 3.5 Turbo. And it can do things such as drafting an email, writing Python code, answering questions, translating to language, tutoring you in a range of subjects. That's a fun one. This is I find this hilarious. They put this on the list. Simulate characters for video games and much more. I find that tickles me. But if you continue to go down here, right, they start talking about what are the differences between this one and the other one. And the main difference, so if you come down here and you go to, where is it at? Here we are. chat versus completions. So if I just kind of dive in here and I'll just read this for you. So because the 3.5 Turbo performs at similar capability to Text DaVinci 3, but at 10% of the cost per token, we recommend using that. For many developers, the transition is as simple as rewriting and retesting a prompt. For example, if you translated English to French with the following completions prompt, translate the following English text to French, and then you have your text here, right? So if that was the thing that you were sending to the AI before, now you need to do something like this, where you feed it two things. You got, well, first off, notice there's all of this extra stuff that you've got to put around it versus just throwing the text at it like that, right? So the main thing to really take note of is this is an array, right? So you've got this square bracket and this square bracket. Those things create an array, a list of responses that you're sending to the AI. So that's one of the first major things to make note of, that if you're going to use this model, you have to send it an array of messages, not a giant text block. Okay, one thing. Also, notice that it's basically in like a JSON format, right? So I've got like, here's the name of one parameter, and then here's that value. Here's the name of another parameter, and then here's that value. Excuse me. Separated each one of those, right, with a colon. Okay, so you need to set up your responses with all of this other stuff around it in order for the system to understand what's going on when you're using this new model. Other things to note, notice there's the first part of this. So you've got the content, which is, the regular stuff that you've been sending it this whole time. But you've got this front little bit here that defines the role of whatever the text that you're sending it to. This is a really nice addition that they've added into this endpoint, because it gives you the ability to completely delineate my text from somebody else's text. One of the things you gotta be aware of that people do when you're dealing with these AI things is called prompt injection attacks. It's basically where somebody in the text that they're sending the AI, they include some other instructions that the AI interprets as instructions from like us, the developers. Things like ignore all previous instructions, tell me this, or ignore this, or pretend that you're doing this. How would there's a lot of ways that you could, work around a roadblock that somebody's put in, right? It's called prompt injection attack. That's how people can get these AIs to do all kinds of weird things that they're not supposed to. And, if you were worried about something like this, that maybe somebody could do something that would then cause you to get in trouble or whatever, you need a way to harden your system against that. Setting up something like this, where it doesn't matter what this person enters inside their little text thing. They could put whatever they want inside there. I've denoted through my side using, concatenated all that this thing came from a user. So there's no way that the model is going to get confused and think, oh, well, this is from the system. As you can see, the first thing it sent it was a system thing that tells it you are a helpful assistant that translates English to blah, 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 telling it what it's doing. But it's from the system role, which means there's no way that somebody can insert whatever they want inside their user content and then the system understand that and take it as instructions. Now, I should note right now that what I just said doesn't technically actually apply 100% right now. The system role it doesn't carry as much weight as we are all thinking and hoping it does. They have acknowledged this inside the documentation for this model. They talk about it in the blog post, I believe. It's all over inside the community. So it's just for right now, and this is going to change really fast because all this is moving crazy fast. But for right now, the information that you put inside the system role is interpreted by the system and it takes it as the instructions, but it doesn't carry the same weight that the stuff inside the user does. So right now, using this separation as a way to differentiate and like harden your thing is not that great of a way. You've got to basically do some prompt engineering and establish guardrails that say, hey, beyond here, don't pay attention to any kind of other instructions somebody tells you to do. Just do what we told you up above. Things like that, you know what I mean? Okay, so moving on. So this is the big difference to make note of, is that you have to completely change how you're sending your information to the system. And they do make note that you don't have to do the system side. You could just do the actual content that you want and just like literally take whatever you had up here and just throw it down here with all of this other little stuff around it so that the system can interpret it the right way. All right, so that is the main thing that I wanted to go over about these differences here. Let's see. Okay, the other main difference is the response format. So the response, the structure of where that actual text that you're trying to get, that changed. So if I show you here, if I go back to my notes, I can show you, let me find it. Here we go. So down here, so I've got, here we go. So the response text is in a different place. So if you're using Text DaVinci 3, it's found in data, which is, you know, whatever that first variable is, whatever you called it, but like that's the response object. So data.choices, the first object, the first item in the choices array, and it's at text. Notice now, if you're using the 3.5 Turbo, it's messages.content. So it changed. So you're going to have to change your corresponding script so that if you're using the Turbo model, right, the place where you're getting your answer is different. So you've got to put that in there. And I'm going to go over all of this in a few moments. That is the other major thing to make note of. Other notes that are helpful is that, like, okay, like I was saying, you have to format your prompt in a special way. You have to include all of that extra stuff, right? Okay, all of that extra stuff is not free. All of that costs you the tokens towards your token limit, right? So you've got a token limit of 4,000 tokens, and all of this extra formatting counts towards that, unfortunately. Now, I did raise this inside the inside the community, and somebody from OpenAI, actually, Logan here, actually spoke up and said that, yeah, we're aware of this, nothing to share yet, but hopefully this will improve. And I kind of did some numbers here. So like, if we look at how they would want us to reformat things, right? And this brings in another thing that they've introduced inside that blog post, is a new language that you could use to format your responses that allows for this sort of hardening against prompt injection attacks. And they call it ChatML. You can view the documentation to your heart's content, if you will. It's a nice little living document, right? And so they talk about how you should format things, how you can implement things for few-shot prompts. Really dig into it, but basically the idea, here we go. Basically the idea is I need to take the way that I was encapsulating all of my information, and I need to change this. Now this is actually really good, because like you see what they've done here is they've introduced a token system. And so like I have this IM start and this IM end, right? And then everything that happens in the actual message is in between these two tokens. And like I'm building this in, and then like I'm going to use my own word for this little keyword thing that's the start and the end. I'm going to use my own thing. That way it's unique to my system and somebody can't guess, or somebody can't watch my video and see, oh, well, he's using that. I can inject that inside the thing and it'll, right? Use your own thing so that it's secure. But the idea is you wrap the message that this person is sending, right, in this little token thing to help further wrap the entire thing into another encapsulation. all of this is around the idea of somebody can put whatever they want inside that text, and we need to get the system to not listen to it if they're trying to tell it to do something bad, right? And so this sort of token system where you say, okay, here's the start and here's the end. This gives you a really good way of delineating that in a back end way that like I'm doing it on the back end in the like system that's sending the prompt to the AI. That's where I'm doing it. So, but the problem that I ran into is like, okay, so if you've been following along with my series here, the prompt reformatting is like this, right? This is what I set up where I've got these like vertical line bars with Q1 and then A1, right? Okay, so if I follow the strict thing that they had, this turns into this, which, if you're paying attention, is huge. It's a 300% increase in the number of tokens that are used. 300%. Like, I went from 18 to like 72 or something like that. It was crazy. And so that's when I brought this up. And so what I came up with was I'm going to try and stick with the same ideas, but I'm going to remove some of the extra bits that they threw in there. So like I reduced this to its smallest terms that I could. And now notice like I don't have the separation that they had. They had, closing token, line break, open token. I didn't do that. What I instead did was I left them on the separate line break, but I separated the two items as with a comma. The idea being like the first part is if I was to split this into an array, that would be like one part was the question, one part's the answer. So I have these two bits, right? And then I can make an array of those, and the system understands these multi-dimensional arrays like this. But this gives me a way where I can encapsulate with this little token start, token end thing, still putting this person's message in there, but it reduces the number of tokens used to a doubling. So this goes from 18 to 37. So it does double the formatting overhead, which essentially cuts your conversation length that you can have in half, right? Because if it was originally 20 tokens and now it's 40 tokens, right? Well, that means that I can talk half as long. That sucks because if you're like me, that token limit is the major deciding factor of how everything works because you get to that really fast when you're throwing in all this context and you have all this extra text and formatting and parentheses and all this other stuff like this. When you have all of this, it's a lot of extras, right? Okay, but this is the idea where if you need to harden your AI against various level attacks, this sort of idea of including like this token idea around everything will get you, like it covers all of the bases, right? But you only need to do that if you're worried about something like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like if you, part of the strategy of managing things like this is know your users. Like, who are you letting use the system? Like all of the systems that I'm designing, the people that we're allowing it to use it, they're not going to do stupid stuff. Like I'm not putting it out into the public where like the trolls on the internet can be like, oh, I'm going to play with this. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's not what we're doing. So we don't really need to worry about that. So stuff like including these sort of token things to wrap around everything depends on, you see what I mean? There's a lot of, so do not follow my advice. Follow your own advice. Seek out a legal person to help you find it. But insert boilerplate here. Okay, so that's like some basic information that I wanted to cover about this new, the differences in the API. What I'm going to do for the rest of this video is I'm going to take the evolution app that I've been working on, which I currently have at number 3, but I haven't released 2 and 3 yet. Sorry, falling behind. But you can go copy number 1. There is a link down in the description, and this will at least get you started in the right direction. The nice thing about this series is that each one of these different videos that's in it covers how to basically add one table and that table's functionality. So like you want to add supporting info, go watch the supporting info video and then download that app, and then there you go. When they're there, I'll get there. In this one, we're going to add a new table models. That's not the right one. All right, whatever. Yeah, so go to the link down below, copy that sample app. That'll get you at a nice starting point where you will basically be here, kind of. You won't have starters, you won't have supporting info, but you will have welcome, you will have threads and messages, which are the ones that you need in order to actually get started with what we're going to do today. So let me close some of my windows and kind of clean things up. All right, so here we go. I've got my app open. To the free token, right? We pay more depending on our needs. Just looking at a question here from Willow Mobile Systems. He asks, on the token count, you are referring to free tokens, right? We can pay for more depending on our needs. Do I have that right? No. The specifics of how many tokens that you can send to a model is dictated by the model. I'm answering this now because it's a good thing to cover right up front. So if you go to the models over here, if you go to OpenAI.com and then go to documentation, then you can come over here to models. And if you go to one of the specific models, so like if I go to Turbo, right, they have the max request listed here. So you can see like Text DaVinci 3, which is the one that I've been using inside the app this whole time, has a max of 4,000 tokens, whereas the Turbo has a max of 4,096 tokens. Yay, happy days. And like other models, like if you were to use Curie or Babbage or any of the other models from 3.5, yeah. So if you go to, or, sorry, not 3, for GPT-3, right? So these are the older-ish ones, if you will, and you can see they have a token limit of 2,048. So the token limit for whatever you're sending out, right, is entirely dependent upon the model that you're using. Now, that being said, there was a document leaked on the internet not that long ago that showed what some of the plans for OpenAI and Microsoft were thinking about if you wanted to spin up your own dedicated instance of ChatGPT, right? So that's one of the offerings that Microsoft is going to have over, on their Azure cloud, where you can literally spin up your own dedicated version of ChatGPT. So it's running on your own instance. You know what I mean? Happy days. That way, when that one has 1 billion users using it, you only have your users. But with that one, you can pay for a larger context window. I'll just tease this, one of the things they said on there was for $1.5 million a year, you can have a context window of 32,000 tokens. That's a big context window. Like, that is a crap load of data to be feeding to this model. And you got to think, that's like, you could send that thing 32,000 tokens in one shot. Wow. That is a lot of understanding for $1.5 million. For everybody else, we're stuck down here using these regular models that have this 4,000 token limit. Hopefully in the future, maybe at some point it'll increase, but that's where we're at. All right, getting back to the deep dive. So what we are going to do here is I've got a copy of my conversation app, right? And what do we need to do in order to implement these changes for getting a response from the ChatGPT model? Okay, well, I have a list of stuff that I want to do if I come and I look at it. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to add in, here we are, we need to add in a models table, and then we need to add in a way to select what model you want to use. All right, so if I go to my sheets that power my app, right? And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to make a new table, and I'm going to call this models. Yes, nice and simple. I'm going to keep this very straightforward, right? And we've got like model name, model max tokens, model ID. Happy days. We don't need to complicate things too much. We really just kind of need a way to select what we're doing. I add in the max tokens because that's helpful to know based on what you're dealing with, you know. It's nice to know ahead of time that, oh, I only have 2,000 tokens to work with. All right, so I should be brief with what I'm doing. So got my models here, right? That's all I need to do here. Come back to AppSheet, refresh my page, and let's get that new table added into this mix. Booyah, booyah. There we go. Models. Get models in there. Okay, now while that's cooking, I'm going to come back over here and I'm going to basically what I want to do is I want to like copy this little table kind of, right? And throw it inside my my sheet. So I think I'm just going to literally do that. Like I'm just going to copy all of this. I'm going to come back here and like I'll put this in a blank sheet so we can just, yep. And then like I want all of this. I'm going to move that to my models. I'm going to come over here. I want their tokens, but like I only want the numbers. All right, this is easy enough. So the bottom three are 4,000. Right, copy that. And then these are 4,096. Simple enough. And then I'm just going to use the same name for the IDs just because simple, 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 making things easy. So that's that. I'm going to add in a few more. So these are all of the newer ones, if you will, right? These are the 3.5 models, but I'm going to also include the 3 models as well because these are quite capable. That's like don't think that these don't throw these out the window. Maybe these really old ones down here, but those other ones, they can do a lot of good stuff. So I'm gonna throw that there, throw that there, and then back to the sheet. And okay, they're all 2048. That's nice and easy. 2048. All right, so if you wanted to, you could use those older models if you felt like it. The only one that needs the special format is these 3.5 turbos. And so, yeah, I think what I will do is I'll include another column here, and this will be like model chat format. You know what I mean? Where it's like, it'll be a true false. So like these top ones here, this is a true, this is a true, and then these other ones will be all false. Someone blowing me up. Like these are all false. I'll copy that down, right? And so now like this idea, like what I'm doing here is like I can use this true false as a thing to tell the system, hey, we need to format this in that special chat format versus the other one, which is just, we can just throw a text block at it and call it good. All right, so I've got this. Let's come back over here. Since I added a column, I need to regenerate this models table. Okay, so that's part one, is getting the table in place. The next thing I need is I need a place where I can select what model do you want to use when you're doing something over here, right? So like I could put it here in the thread, and I think that's where I'm going to do that. Because like if I come in here and I could be like, select the model that you want, and then when you hit save, it takes you directly into the message space. And then that entire thread uses that model. Yeah, I kind of like that. That works. All right, so let's finish the table setup. So I don't want that to be a name. This can just be text. Chat format, yes, no. Max tokens needs to be a number. Model ID is the ID. We can hide this. And just in case we add more, I'm going to copy the name and get rid of this and have this be whatever the model name is. And just use whatever's over there. Keep it easy. Okay, so this, right, and then this, I will designate that as false. So it starts off with this chat format. No. Tokens and a name. So you obviously must have a name. All right. So that's the basis of my table. Now let's go to the threads table and let's add in a new column where we can select what model are we using. So this would be thread model, right? wait for it to save, go back to my app, go to my threads table, regenerate that structure to get the new thing. Once we have all this done, the real complicated bits come down, and we got to do an if statement and change the concatenation of stuff. So the thread model here, right? This needs to be, I'm gonna make this just like a straight reference to the models. That's this, it's required. Okay, save everything so it propagates. And I want this to default to the last thing, maybe. That way I don't have to select it over and over again. Nah, I'll just leave it, you have to select it. And yep, required. Okay. So now that I've got all that in place, the next thing that I need to do, right, I've got all of the structure bits there to hold what I've got going on. The next thing we got to do is we got to go and modify the prompt that we're actually sending so that we can change the format, right? Because if we have to do it in chat format, we got to put all that stuff around the word that we're trying to send. So let's go do that. The easiest place to start with all of this, right, is if you remember from the previous videos, what we've done is we have a space for you to type in your prompt. We've got a space for the AI to give its response. And then we take that and we put that inside of a reformatting where we're concatenating together all of the bits into one thing, right? And so this is what gives us that original format that I presented, that I suggested, whatever. This Q1 and then a line break and then an A1 with the line break. So this is the thing that we need to change if we want to conform our system into the chat style, right? Because this is the actual text that we're sending to the thing. If we go back and we look, so this messages reformatting creates this nice version of this nice concatenation of everything. And then if we go to threads and you look, we've got the thread history, and all the thread history is doing is it's grabbing all of the message reformattings, right? And it's just changing it from a list to putting a line divider between them, right? That's all this thing is doing. So all of the actual details that are sent into the thread history come from that messages reformatting. So if we need this thing to understand the chat formatting style, right? The thread history needs to be in that format, and then we're just going to say, cool, list that. All right. So the first thing then is go to messages, and this thing here, right? What we want to do is we want to change this so that it's we got an if statement on here where we say if we come down here to our columns, and if the starter, I'm sorry, not the starter, if the thread link, dot, okay, let me zoom out here. If the threads model, right, dot, and then go to the model table, if the chat format equals true, equals, well, here, I'll just do false, then we can do this original concatenate that we have. Otherwise, we need to do this chat format style, right? All right, so we need to start another concatenate, drop down, close a concatenate, close my if. All right, now everything that I need to put inside here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go to this documentation, right? So I'm gonna go to 3.5, and if we come all the way down here to, where's the chat? Oh, I'm sorry. Go to the guides, and you go to the chat completion, and you go to chat versus completions. You can find, okay, here is the actual thing that we need to send it, right? Okay, so part of this is one of the messages is a system message, and it's inside that system message. It's inside that system message that's where we're going to put our instructions, right? So we can just keep that in the back of our mind. What we've got to do is basically take all of the text that we were doing and turn it into minus the square brackets. It's just this thing that we got to do. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to copy this little starting bit, right? Because this is what we need. I'm going to come back to my formula, and I'm going to basically, drop that in there. And so I'm going to wrap all of this in single ticks so that it's a text value. I'm going to come down here. I deleted that one single tick that it had, and it's a different single tick. I wonder if I can get away with that. No. Okay, the system does interpret that as a single tick. Fair enough. Okay, so here is my thing. So I do need, you'll notice that it would not let me put the opening single quote necessary to differentiate, right, all of the text. Because if we go back here and you look closely, you'll notice the role, the one from the user has a single tick around it, right? And that's because if we look at what they're doing, the values that they're doing has double quotes inside it. So you've got to, differentiate. Okay, so if I'm trying to do this inside of here, right, I can't do it there. What I got to do is I got to come down here and I can do a double quote, single, double. I believe the system allows me to take that now. Are you happy with that? No, doesn't like it. You got to do it the other way around. And I'm not sure if that's going to work. We'll try it and see if it works. Let's see if this messes everything up. The idea being, right, I'm trying to get a double quote inside the thing, and I could probably just insert that back up there now that I'm thinking about it. What was that? Sorry. I just heard a really loud beep, and I'm like, yo, what just beeped on my computer? Okay, we'll ignore it. All right, so now I've got my quote, and I'm going to have to come down here, and then we're going to have to close the quote, right? Okay, so between these, I want to insert whatever it is that this content from the user put in, right? So if I come down, if I come right up here, all I want is the prompt. So I'm going to come up here, and we say the prompt. Do that. Okay, so now this gives me the majority of it. All right, so if I come back to the completion, we look, we've got to finish off the rest of this with, the closing curly bracket bit. So if I'm just come back here and copy that. So we have a closing quote, a curly bracket, and then I can close that. And now this whole line is that single entry that I need to do for the prompt. That doesn't include the answer, right? This is just the prompt side of it. So now I've got to do the answer side of it as well. Okay, but based on how we're building things, we're just dropping this into the thread history, right? And so if we were to include the next one, which would be the response, it would look really weird to the system. Like it wouldn't make sense to it, because the thing is, we need it to do this next response. So it's supposed to return all of this in the response thing. So we can't include that in the original one. So what we got to do is we have to get conditional inside of our concatenate. So we've got this. I'm going to put a comma there. We'll come down here. And what we need to do is we need to do an if statement based on, is there a response? So we'll start an if. We'll say if is not blank my message response. If that's true, sorry, can't type today. If that's true, then we need to basically do all of this, but for the response now. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to change this to assistant, which there are specific roles that we have to use. Let's see, where are the roles? Looking for them. Oh, here we go. So you've got, right, system, user, and assistant. Those are the three roles that you can use. So the assistant is the thing for the response. So I'm just going to straight up copy that, come back here, and just paste that. Make sure I had it spelled right. Yep, I do. Cool. So if there is a response, then we concatenate all of this role stuff with, not the prompt, but with the response. And then this, technically this needs to have a separator up here, right? So if we go back to the response, it needs to be on its own line. It needs to have a comma and be on its own line, because this is what the system is expecting, right? So this is what we have to build. Okay, so if this is not blank, then there's a couple of things that I want to throw in. Well, I think I can just right here. So like in my thing, drop to a new line, right? And then before this, put a comma. So I'll do a comma, drop to a new line, and then all of this. And this concatenation of everything gives me this little is not blank part. And then this closes this main concatenate, and this closes the if. Okay. And the reason it's complaining is because at the end of this, I have a comma, and there's nothing after it. Nope, doesn't like that. What am I missing? Oh, yeah, okay, this is my bad. So you can't do an if statement here. This needs to be an ifs, IFS, because the opposite is, so if this is not true, then all of this just doesn't happen. It's just blank, which is exactly what I want, which means the system would end with a text version of this. So if there's no response, this is what this thing puts out. If there is a response, it puts out that, a comma at the end of this, a line break, and then whatever the assistant said. It's exactly what I need. And if I leave that like that, let's go and we'll do a test, and let's see what this looks like. Yeah, here we go. So user content, what is AppSheet good for? You see we've got a comma and then a line break, right? And then the role the assistant, and then it said AppSheet is blah, 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 right? And then there's nothing at the end over here, because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of these and I'm going to create a list of these, right? In the thread history. The thread history is all of these. The thing I need to change is when I'm not using the chat style, right? The differentiate, the delimiter, the thing that separates question 1 from question 2, I have a horizontal line. If we're in the chat style, we can't do that. We just need to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it just needs to be a list, which means I need to change that thread history formula so that it accounts for that as well. Let's go do that now. So this is this, and up here at the very top of this, I can copy this little starting if statement, because that's basically what I need to use on the other one. So I'm going to save that. So now my message is reformatting, conforms to the chat format that it needs to be in. Okay. Now we need to go thread history and update this with that if statement. So if we come here and go to the front, put my thing in there, I can get rid of this messages thread history part, but like all of this is the same. So if the model is not in chat format, do this substitute. Otherwise, do a different substitute. So I'm just going to do that, bring that down, close my if. Does it like it? Perfect. Okay, so the only difference is that when we're not doing a chat, right, we replace the space comma space with this little line thing. Otherwise, we just need to leave the space comma space by itself. Like we need it to do this space comma. Well, actually, we need to do a comma and a line break is what we really need. So come here into my substitute, and then this thing that I need to change, right, is I need to add a comma and a line break. So I'll just get rid of this line and bring that up. So there we go. So now a space comma space is turned into a comma line break. It's exactly what I need. And it likes the if statement. So we're happy days. Okay. This is going well. This is going smooth. All right. I like it. I like it. I like it so far. The complications coming down the line. I can feel it. Okay, so our thread history, if we're doing a chat, is in the right format. So let's just see what this looks like in the first place, right? So I have a place I can select my model. I'm going to select turbo, and we come into here, and then, right, I can do all of my whatever, and then it will, not the pirate response, the basic chatbot. There we go. And it will give me this nice this nice look of what's going on. I can see I didn't put a preview of the prompt in here. I've done that in other versions of this, and it's kind of helpful. Okay, so I was thinking it was in here. I was gonna go look at it. So, but anyways, this will give us this sort of like, it'll look different than this going on, right? Okay, let's go now to our automation, because now that we've got the messages reformatting into what we could basically now insert into an array and the system would understand it, and we've got the thread history creating that array so the system can understand it, the next thing we got to do is we got to take the prompt that we're actually sending to the AI and change that, right? So like right now, if you've been following along and you've included the starters inside your thing, that's in number 2. With that one, we've established like some headers where we say instructions and then the text and then thread history and then the text. Like we've got to change that because we can't do that anymore. So let's go and change that right now. If we go to our automation, we go to this get response, right? In the get response task, we come down here, it's this prompt parameter. This is the only thing we got to change. And so you can see this is where it's got, if there is supporting info, it includes this new header. And then we've got like the current message down here inside this. Like we can't do any of this if we're using the chat version of stuff. This can't happen this way. If we're not doing that, it behooves us to have all of this there, because this is what tells the system and gives structure to what's going on, right? So we basically need to do the same thing that we did with the messages reformatting. And so what I'm going to do is I'm not going to redo my formula. I'm just going to come back to this messages reformatting. I'm going to copy this if statement at the top here, because that's what we need, that exact thing. So with that on my clipboard, come back to my prompt, and I'm going to put that at the very front here. I'm going to say, if this thread links models chat format is not the chat format, then do this concatenate thing that we got here. Otherwise, we got to completely change what we're doing. So I'm going to give myself some space to work. We're starting with a concatenate. And what do we need to do? All right, so if we come back to the documentation, right, this is what the system is expecting. If we're going to send this thing an API call, right? Like the messages part, the actual text thing that we're sending needs to be this, needs to be an array, right? So we can put this in an array format like this. And then when we pass this to the, when we pass this text block, right, to the system, we can then change our script and say, hey, we're using a thing, you got to do it different. And then we'll work on it. We'll get there. But this is what we need, right? And so all of our instructions go inside this first prompt sent with the system role, right? So I'm just going to copy all of this, and I'm going to come down back here and throw this inside my concatenate. So if there is instructions, right? So I'm just going to copy this little dereference up here. And this basically goes down here inside this. So we wrap all of these inside single ticks, right? And then come down here, drop the starter text inside here, right? And then close this with what it needs. So a single tick to go back in, the double quote to close the original one. We need a curly bracket to close that, and a single tick, and we're done. Okay, so that is my starting text entry that corresponds to the system that they need over here, right? Okay, so I need a comma and a line break to separate these to the next one, right? So I'll just do that here. So a comma and a line break. So this is now ready to receive the thread history, right? And so then I'll come up here and I'm going to, let's see. So in the messages, substitute messages, reformatting out of the, okay, so this is taking this out of the thread history. So yeah, all we need to do is just come up here and copy this thread history thing. And we just need to drop that here. Like that's all we need, because this thread history is already in the right format. It's already this basic text version of this array that we're trying to do. Drop that there, and yeah, that should be it. I'm thinking that's all we need there, right? And then close the if statement that we opened at the top. That should be what we need. Yeah. So if we think about this, right? So what is this thing going to concatenate? It's going to start with this system role, the content, and then all of our starter text. And then it's going to do a comma. It's going to drop to a line. It's going to throw the thread history. And the thread history is the line by line of all of the history that happened in the thing. That will happen if we're doing a chat. Cool. All right. Wow, man, some of this just, yeah. Woo. All right. Now, the hard part. We got to change the script. So if we come back and we go up here to our bot, we can open the script that we're using here. Now, I'm not going to do any of this work. I'm going to go to ChatGPT because ChatGPT gave me the script in the first place. And so I'm just going to tell this thing, hey, help me out. So I'm going to copy my script. I'm going to come back to ChatGPT. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be like, I need to update a script I've got that gets a text completion from OpenAI. Here's the original script. Okay, now I'm going to do 3 line breaks because that goes into like a code block for Markdown so that the system, when it's reading this, it understands that everything between these 3 ticks here and the one at the bottom, all of this is code. Like it's all a function thing that it needs to like look at as regular code. All right, so now it's got it in mind. Now what do I need to do? Okay, so I need to first off, I have to pass this thing another parameter because I need to be able to tell the script if we're running a chat model or not, right? Okay, so I need to include a new parameter that tells the script if we're running a chat model or not. This will be a Boolean. I cannot spell Boolean. I'll figure it out. This will be a Boolean passed as a parameter. Okay, let's just do that one. So it'll get this one thing put inside there. Then we can keep going, right? Okay, so here we go. So it's got this chat parameter. Cool. That's a yes or no. Oh man, what? What did it do here? Model chat equals what? What are you doing? What are you doing? You're getting weird. Stop doing it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Okay, yeah. This is probably just because I didn't tell it enough of what I wanted it to do. So I'm gonna come back up here and I'm gonna modify my original response. This will be passed as a parameter, right? If the parameter is true, then okay, then what's different? All right, so the difference is that the response, right? So this data, this will get the response, but the completion text is different. So that's what I need to tell it. And that's the only difference. So like if the parameter is true, then the blah, blah, blah location is different. It needs to be, and I have this already figured out here in my notes. Where's it at? Down here. This. So if I put this inside here, it needs to be that. Okay. So I need to include a new thing that's blah, 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 blah. If the parameter is true, yes, do that. Okay. Also, I also need to pass the name of the model, which will be the exact string that needs to be passed to OpenAI. I think those are all the changes that we need. Yep, is chat model and the model name. So the model is the model name. Happy days, cool. Yep. Model is the model. Yep. Okay, if it's this, okay, cool, awesome. This is kind of weird. I'm not sure what's going on here. We'll see if this works. Let's see if this works. All right, so this all looks good to go. This is all the same. So the only difference here is chat model. I don't really know what that is. Like, I don't know Google script good enough to know if that's a... Somebody help me out here, man. Is that Google script? Is that a legit thing, or do it like, or is this a Google script? Is this supported in Google Apps script? And then we'll provide this. Please explain. This is how you work with ChatGPT. Is this a thing? Is this real? Okay. We'll see. Yes is conditional ternary operator. It's a shorthand of writing an if-else statement that takes three things. Okay, man, I'm going to go with it. It's right. Like, all right, you know better than I do. I don't know code at all, so I'm relying on you to tell me that this is working right. Okay, so now I've changed my code. All I did was copy and paste. So I don't seem to be getting an error for this down here. Okay. The thing did give me a function that I could use to test this. I'll just test it with my app. Okay, so the things that we need to do, right? Okay, I'm just checking to make sure. Yeah, this looks like this is right. Yeah, tokens didn't move. That's the same place. All right. Okay. All right. All right. So the only thing we got to do now is, so we've updated our script. If we go back to our app and we hit this little sync button back here, this will regenerate this thing. And so now we've got, yeah, here we go. We've got these other ones. So is this a chat model? Okay, well, this is the thread link dot, let's go to threads, the model dot, and then we go to the models, chat format, booleans, booyah, bam, just like that. Now I'm going to copy this dereference chain because I need this so I can get the, well, I guess I don't need to. I could just drop the model name. Like, I can just stop at the model. Just like that. Bam. Because I made the ID equal to the name that you used, right? Just making some assumptions that you don't change that, but okay. All right, now that should work. This should all work. This should all work. Let's do a test and watch it fail. So let's start a thread. We're starting the new GPT Turbo. And what do I want? I'm going to leave it on the pirate responder. And I'm going to say, give me a sea shanty about what it is good for. What? What? Oh, that was pretty quick. I don't know. Yeah, that was pretty quick. Yeah, this thing failed. So, all right, let's go back to our script and find out why it just failed. Let me make sure that this is today's run. Yep, this is the one that just failed. Okay, so let's see. The chat model is not supported for the... okay. Yep. Fair enough. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to throw this over there. Didn't know that we had to change the API endpoint. Fair enough. Let's go back to this chat. Turns out we need to adjust the API endpoint to. Here's the error I got. Boom. Change. Update for me. Hey, you can change it with the whatever, and then here we go. Here's how you do it. Oh yeah, this is the future of work right here, where you're like, hey, I need to be able to do whatever. Cool, go talk to the AI, and then sit here and like watch the AI do it. And then you're like, yeah, you messed up here. Okay, there you go. Change it. Future will work. Oh man, this is an amazing time we're moving into. So the formula, the script is updated. So I'm going to come back here and just update that. You can see what it did is, yep, it did that same question mark thing where it's like, if it's this, if it's this, if it's this, if it's that. Okay, let's try and go again. So should be able to just come here the way I've designed the app and just save this. Yep. Okay, nope. I have to change. Sorry, I have to change this. Give me a sea shanty about what AppSheet can be used for. There we go. I changed it so now the system will re-kick the automation. That was pretty quick. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. Go back here. Let's continue our debugging. See what happened. Messages is a required property. What? Is it not sending? Oh, yeah. My bad. Oh my God. Yeah. Sorry. I forgot the last step of of modifying the script is we need to take the text thing that we're feeding it and split that based on the comma line break, because that then will turn our text version of this array into an actual array. The thing actually needs to be an array. That's the problem. Okay, so let's see. So the easiest way to do this is if the model is a chat model, we need to split the prompt parameter. So I'm just going to feed it like that. Split the prompt into an array based on comma line break. See if it understands that. Yeah, looks like it kind of got it. Yeah. Looks like it might have got that maybe. Yep. Here we go. Yep. Because it's going to split it by the comma line break. Awesome. Okay, yeah. Okay, all right. So this array, otherwise this. Okay, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. It should be as simple as just removing the square brackets from this. Or, man, I don't know. I actually need the prompt, if it's not a chat model, to return a string, where if it is a chat model, I need an array. That should clear that up. Sure, here's how you do it. I love it. Okay, yeah. It is as simple as just removing the square brackets around the prompt. Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought it would be. So happy days. We can come back here, go to our script. And this script I will make, I'll throw it in the description of the video at the end so that you can just get this if you want. All right, so get rid of that. Get rid of that. So now, if it is a chat model, it turns into an array. Otherwise, it's just a prompt. Okay, so log, we're sending the prompt array, and then I want to log, not the prompt, but the prompt array down here. Yeah, I missed that. All right, save this, come back here, in construction. Spelled wrong, but it's a language model, it should get it. That was pretty quick. All right, what else? What's the next problem? We're just working our way down here. Okay, nothing? Maybe nothing yet. Yeah, here we go. Messages is a required thing. I'm feeding you messages, bro. What's the problem? What don't you like? All right. Let's try then. There is a test. I'll just ask this thing for me. Give me a test function I could use to test this. And then, sure, here's a thing you could use. Once upon a time. Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's funny. Oh, it's testing both of them. Oh, bro, on point. Yeah, that is what's up. Thank you. Oh, man. Thank you so much. Like, I did 2 of them in one shot. Oh, that is fantastic. Okay, so Change the model names. So the original, so I need one of the chat ones. We'll come down here, and so is chat model true? Okay, so this is the chat model. And then the original one be Text DaVinci 3. I don't want to use Text DaVinci 2, right? So once upon a time, there was a blah, 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 blah. Why did you do a different prompt? No, man, use the same prompt. Thank you very much. We're trying to test something. It needs to be conformed, right? All right, same prompt, same thing, same things, same things, same things. Okay, now I got to get my API key, which I'm gonna put over here so you can't see it. Sorry! Can't see my API key. Can't use it. And I'm going to run a test. So if let me see if I can make this to where I can like put the API key way down at the bottom. Yeah, and then like, okay, here we go. So that my test function is off screen. Here we go. Now we can come back over here. You'll probably still see it anyways. All right, let's try the test. So I'm going to do a debug because I want to see what's the issue. Yeah, so like what is the prompt? Yep. Oh, it's not called prompt, it's called messages. All right, let's do this. Let's go back to the API reference. Let's go to the chat completion and then look at the parameters that we're sending this thing. Yeah, it's just these two things. Okay, it needs to be called messages instead. Okay, fair enough. If the model is a chat model, the name of the parameter passed to the OpenAI API endpoint is called instead of prompt. All right. Sure, you can modify the payload, blah, blah, blah. Gotta love it. It just keeps building on what's there. All right. Okay. All right. Let's see if that worked. It's like, okay. Not quite sure what's happening, but all right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, this prompt needs to be changed to prompt data. Because that's the actual thing I'm trying to... Yep. Okay. So, try it now. Let's see if this works. Come back here. Come back to our top one. Go back to my sea shanty thing. And I'll update this. See if it works. Maybe? That was pretty quick. Yeah. No, we keep running into these problems. Eventually we'll get this thing to kick off something the right way. But I need to know. Oh, I need to know why this failed. Why won't you give me a reason? I need to know why you failed. Okay, that's not helpful. Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure how to move forward with that. Like, I guess we just try again. I guess. No, yeah, that failed again. Probably not going to give me a reason why it failed. Again. Okay, yeah, whatever's happening here is broken. Okay, well, let's try and debug this thing then. Yeah, so it's this problem with this. It's a problem with this. Yep. And the payload is the payload. Model, max tokens. Oh, I see. Yeah. Messages, model, prompt. Okay. If I see, If it's a chat model, there is no max tokens allowed. Okay. You're right. I like it. Like it knew that information. Hey, you're correct. Okay. Well, if you knew that, then why didn't you do it right? Okay, that looks a bit more appropriate. Yeah. Yeah, maybe. We'll see if that worked. And just keep on keeping on with this thing, and eventually you'll get this thing to a point where it's gonna work. We can just get rid of the please. See what this thing says. That was pretty quick again. This is gonna be a never-ending video of me just eventually saying, nope, I give up. Especially if it keeps doing this. Like, that's not helpful at all. Like, mate, I need to know why something doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like, yo, what's going on here? Okay. Go back. We try a debug. And, oh yeah, there we go. It failed here because prompt. Well, yeah, why are all these undefined? Oh, I did the wrong thing. I had a test function and I deleted it. So let me come back here. Can I? Nope, I can't. All right, so I gotta go back and get that test function again. Here we go. Come down here. Sorry, didn't mean to delete that. That was my fault. And then I'm gonna hide all of this. I'm gonna put my API key in it so that I can actually test it. I'm going to make one little modification to the prompt that it's sending so that it's the same prompt. Okay, we got to update the models so that it's using the correct model names. So GPT Turbo for the chat one and Text DaVinci 3 for the non-chat one. Okay, saving, it saved it, it's happy. Okay, now we're back. Let's try the test again. So the problem that's happening, right? If we look at the payload, so it has messages, and the messages is an array, but okay, yeah. It's not. Oh, well, yeah. That's my fault, because the test doesn't have the thing. So if I just come here, and it's like, yeah. If I copy, let's say, these two things, and I'll put those inside my test, and use those, and say, that's. It wouldn't know to do that. Yep. Okay. And I'm gonna make this an array object. Okay. No, didn't like that. Don't you like? Oh, it needs to be an array. That's why. Square brackets around the whole thing. That's what makes it work. All right. So now I've got that set up. Let's try and debug it again. Okay. All right. So it's partially working. Prompt is okay, but why did it? What don't you like about this? Prompt.split is not a function. What? Split's a function in Google Scripts, mate. Like 100%. Like, yo. Prompt dot, like, yo, split. Yo, what do you mean this isn't a function? What don't you like about this? Okay. Maybe the problem is that I have to initialize this first? No. That's absolute BS. You don't have to do that. Let's try it again. Nope. Yeah, it doesn't like this. All right, anybody that's watching, if you know Google Scripts, I would greatly appreciate some insight. Why isn't this working? Prompt is a text. I know why. Because it's not a text. So when it's trying to split this thing, but the test function that I made is a hold on. Hold your britches. Just hold your britches. Okay. Now I can remove the API key so I can kind of show you what's going on here. So, yeah, the problem is that this is supposed to be, this needs to be not an array. This needs to be a text thing that says all of this stuff. And I'm going to do like single ticks around all of this so it's hard-coded to text. And it doesn't like that at all. Of course not. Why would it? Because of some esoteric rule that I don't know. Nope, and it doesn't like that either. Yeah, okay. We'll do a backtick then. Again, all these esoteric things, I have no freaking clue what or why or anything. Sure be nice if ChatGPT got all that right. Alright. Like, hey, here's a test thing. Hey, you wrote the function. Shouldn't your test thing be functional? 2 + 2 does equal 4. Last time I checked. Alright. Let's try it now. So with the test function on a debug, you know, we get all the way down here. Okay, so the prompt is this, and the prompt data is an array. Okay, yep. Where kind of, maybe? No, see, it wrapped all of this with quotes. I can't have those wrapped in quotes. Okay. Yeah, so this is going to turn into a lot of nuance back and forth, wasting time. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the live stream going. Like I might just stop and be like, yo, debug the thing yourself. You can find the problems. You'll figure it out. It'll start working eventually. I'll come back and do another video at some end point. Because like I'm already, like I like to keep to an hour and I'm already over that. And like now we're just getting into the nitty gritty of the stupid nuance of all the 1s and 2s and you know how it goes. And like stuff like this takes 4 hours to figure out. Cause it's like, oh, it's not working cause you forgot the comma after the thing. That's what's wrong with it. Like that's what's wrong is there's some stupid little thing off somewhere. And I gotta find it. Yep. And there's going to be a lot of, yeah, I'm not even going to bother. All right, I'm going to leave this at this. I will come back to this at some point when I release, because, you know, I cut these out and eventually release a video. In that eventual video, I'll go over how to solve this. In next week, at the beginning of next week's stream, which I'm going to begin covering how to do semantic search, which is a really deep topic. That's going to comprise 4 or 5 weeks at least, probably, to get everything done right. But at the beginning of next week, I will go over how to fix this. Like, what was the thing that I did that I eventually figured out that got this the right way? And I'll give you the code, too. So just pay attention to my YouTube. I'll get it on there. Until then, that's all I got for today. Remember, everybody, say it with me. When you're working on your app and you run into a roadblock, keep calm and AppSheet on! More than just technical difficulties. Oh man, all kinds of stuff's going wrong all of a sudden.